I am so stoked to be able to share with you the build that started it all. This was my first AR and I can see you mouthing the words, why did you build a 300 Blackout before 5.56? It's a long story. But basically, I didn't know anything and I liked the sound of the name, which is reason enough. You're definitely going to see as I talk about the parts I used how random a lot of it is, but that's because I originally started with a complete Bear Creek upper and a complete Palmetto State lower, and everything else was either Palmetto or Arrow. So just be aware, basically I built this over time by adding parts I've used and loved from other builds. As always, there's a build list in the description and everything is linked on my kit on my website, gunmanusa.com. Also, please help me to be able to make more videos like this by subscribing. And if you like and comment like you always have, that really helps me out. Jumping right into the build, tip to butt. The suppressors, the Socom 300 SPS, an absolute legend of a can, insanely quiet, very well built. I run this on both my 223 Wild and this guy, but I bought it specifically for this build. The muzzle device is the Socom muzzle brake suppressor adapter. I love that this adds 2 additional mini baffles to the can. I like to think it does something, it probably doesn't, but it might. The barrel is Bear Creek's 8.5 Heavy 1.8 twist with their pistol length gas tube. It all runs very smooth, but definitely something I'm looking to upgrade in the future. I'll likely go with another Ballistic Advantage Premium Series barrel because I trust them and I know they run very well. The handguard is from my good friend Corey at Aeronox. He's an incredible designer and makes very well built parts for both ARs and handguns, and I love this thing. It has great build quality as expected, super unique design, has anti-rotation pins, and it's just a sweet, comfortable handguard. It first caught my eye because of the way it tightens to the barrel nut. I try to avoid the whole 6 screws around the handguard if possible. I've just stripped too many of them and it gets old over time. I definitely just prefer the 2 at the bottom that tighten down much easier. Corey also makes these semi-angled hand stops, which are super comfortable and well made. I've loved this thing, so definitely go check out his products. The grips on the right side are from Railscales. I've said it before, but Railscales makes some of the best grips on the market. They are super well made and very visually pleasing. And I love that they had mini dot because that's kind of what Aeronox style is as well. They have it spaced throughout the handguard and the hand stop. On the right, we have the Link Angled QD, which I run on all my builds. I love these, no issues at all. And I always face them away from me so I can keep the tension on the strap opposite to the way it connects. Not that it makes it more reliable, that's just what I like to do. The sling is from Edgar Sherman Design. I'm a huge fan of their slings. They adjust really easily and are well made. They're definitely not as comfortable as my padded Blue Force gear, but still really good to have on the range for training. They do not come with QD swivels unless you order them with them, but I just picked up Magpul's QDMs, which so far are great quality and have worked really well so far. The light setup is the same as my 223 Wild build. I used to run an Olight Odin because it's a super convenient light, though I'm not sure I would take it to anything serious though. I'm sure if you did that it would be just fine, as I've had it for quite a while and have never had issues with it. My only real gripe with the Odin is how annoyingly big the button is, especially after running the mod button on this build. It's actually one of the main reasons I switched over to this light setup. Olight needs a better button. This light also dominates in the brightness section. The Malkoff head is just ridiculously bright. The upper receiver is from Bear Creek. It's a great well-built upper, nothing super special about it besides the Cerakote, which was all done by my friends at X2 Dev Group. These guys basically wrote the book on Cerakote and they do some of the best work out there, so I'm super grateful to them. The bolt carrier group is from Sharps Rifle Company. It's another one of their extreme performance bolts. I told you guys I only run these now because they are the best priced, feature-filled, most reliable bolt carrier groups on the market. Definitely pick one of these up and see it for yourself, but it runs flawlessly in this build. Their coatings are incredible. I just ran about 300 rounds suppressed through it, which caused a ton of carbon buildup. It literally just wipes off after spraying it with a multi-cleaner. I love it. The backup sights are from Magpul. They're just the MBUS Pros. Nothing too special, but I really like them as a backup option, especially because I could match the color to what I wanted. The Optic is the HS510C from Holosun in green. Again, with X2's Cerakote job on the hood, which makes this look extra sweet. Holosun did a great job job, honestly, with this optic. It's super clear, it's solar and battery powered, has shake awake, multiple reticle options, and has a multi-layer reflective glass that's just really well built. I have had this for a couple years now, and I have never had an issue with it. Holding the Holosun is Unity's fast riser. These are super well made and makes aiming much more comfortable, as you can keep your neck in a more straight position instead of bending it to see your optics dot. I recommend having a riser on all of your builds. You'll shoot faster and more comfortably with one. I highly recommend it. Though you will need to be aware of height over bore. That's something that you'll just ingrain into training as you move along with using a riser. The charging handle is the same one I run on all my builds, the X2 Jackal. One of a kind, super well built, very reliable. It's honestly going to take a ton for me to switch to anything else, and I really haven't experienced much gas leakage shooting suppressed. All around, it's a great option. The dust cover is from Strike Industries, and I have had problems with their dust covers in the past. It seems like sometimes you'll get a bad one and their detent isn't high enough to grab the upper receiver, so they sometimes tend to be a little touchy. Luckily, the one I got is good, but I did get one recently that wouldn't lock at all, which is super frustrating. So they have been a bit hit or miss for me with dust covers, just be aware of that. The buffer tube assembly is still all from Palmetto State Armory, mil spec, good so far, no issues. I'll likely upgrade all of it later on, but for now it's fine, which is what it is. I am running the SBA 3 pistol brace, which I'm a huge fan of. Everybody knows SB Tactical makes some of the best braces out there. The lower is just a Palmetto mil spec lower. It's been great so far. It doesn't have the tightest tolerances with my upper in comparison to other brands, but it definitely gets the job done. I'm not too worried about the loose tolerances because you can fix it with a thing called an Accu Wedge. I threw one in and it's literally perfect now, super tight. Just be aware you may need to size the wedge to your build. I had to shave off about 1/8 inch before I could even push the pin through my lower, but now that it's in, everything's perfect. The Magwells from HRF Concepts, these guys make some great products and I'm very happy with this one. It does help with the reloads, gives a cool, unique look to the build. Just be aware, depending on the receiver you have, you may have a little wiggle. I fixed this by placing some foam between the receiver and the Magwell, tightening it down, then I cut around to remove the excess foam, and now there's no more wiggle. Probably for a more permanent solution, you could cut a rubber washer as well and tighten it down on top of it. That's probably a better option for long term, and it's something that I'll do eventually. The trigger and selector switch are both from Triggertech. As you know, I'm a loyal Triggertech user, and I have never been let down by their products. This trigger is their adaptable 2.5 to 5 pound pull weight option, and I chose the PVD flat option, which makes it feel a lot like a 1911 style pull. I generally keep the pull weight around 4 pounds because that feels comfortable as my run and gun weight. Very smooth, very reliable. I will put Triggertechs in all of my builds forever. The selector feels a lot like a Radian Talon, only with a polished coating. So far using it, the flick feels very smooth, and there's actually less play in it than the Talon, which I like. It makes it feel more precisely machined, which is hard to beat, especially in comparison to the Talon, which we all know Radian puts more effort over many to have the most quality controlled, well machined products on the market. So great job to Triggertech for making an amazing selector, especially when paired with the trigger. Comfortability wise though, there are sharper edges on the Triggertech in comparison to the Radian, so maybe you might like the Radian Talon more just because it's a little softer to flick. The grip is a Magpul K2+, huge fan of these. I have these on all my builds right now. The mag release button is from Railscales, huge fan. It's really just a mil-spec design, only Railscales added their touch, which I'm a huge fan of. Now I'm pretty sure that's the build. If I left anything out, it's probably just arrow, so you can really just choose whatever you want if you're gonna remake this. Overall, I am super happy with how this runs and how much fun it is to shoot. So far, it's been 100% reliable, and I'm super happy to say it's one I'm going to keep forever. What makes this build so amazing is definitely the Socom with subsonic rounds. There's just nothing like shooting a very powerful round so quietly. And because I know you're curious, here's the difference between unsuppressed and suppressed. There are more videos and builds to come, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.